Dragon-type Pokemon, known for their rarity, power, and difficulty to master. In attempting to do a hardcore Nuzlocke with only Dragon types, one might run into some difficulties, those being that there may be very few or even none available to you early on, so you likely won't have many team members to work with in the early to mid game, and with how exceptionally late most of them evolve, you will have to make it far into the game before your team reaches its full power. That being said, today I am going to attempt a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Storm Silver using only Dragon types. If you don't know what a hardcore Nuzlocke is, these are the standard rules we will be following. Only the first Pokemon encountered in any area can be used, in this case only Dragon types, no menu items can be used in battle, all battles are played on set mode, no overleveling gym leaders or the league, if a Pokemon faints it is considered dead and can no longer be used, and if a battle is ever lost, we start over from the beginning. Additional rules in the description. I don't use legendaries, so these 6 dragons will be all we've got. So let's see how these dragon types can handle a hardcore Nuzlocke of Storm Silver. None of our starters can be a dragon type, but I choose Totodile since it's sorta dragon-like. It's definitely not because I don't want my rival to have ice moves on this thing. And then we get the Eevee, who we can usually use, but not this time because it's never gotten a dragon evolution, which personally I always really wished it did. But this is the part where I fast forward to my first encounter, where I should start off by saying I am using one rule adjustment for the dragon type, which is that I am allowing them to fully use members that don't have the type yet. In this case, this only lets me use a Swablu, which we can catch on Route 46. With Swablu, we have no issues making it to Violet City, and because I was given the old rod by the man in Cherry Grove City, I can go to the Ruins of Alph and fish up a Dratini who joins the team. With a bird and a worm, it's very easy to get through Sprout Tower, and before facing Falkner, these 2 Pipsqueaks are going to need a lot of Eevee training, so I focus on training them in speed and HP, and fortunately, thanks to Dragon types being in the slow level up group, I can do a lot of it without breaking our level cap of 15, getting them both over 100 EVs in each stat. And I realize some of you watching this may not be familiar with the deeper mechanics of Pokemon games, so let me quickly explain EVs. So EVs stand for effort values, and essentially how they work is that when your Pokemon defeats an opposing Pokemon, they gain effort values that correspond to the 6 major stats: HP, attack, defense, special attack, special defense, and speed. The EVs you gain depend on the kind of Pokemon you defeat, so for example for speed we can defeat Pidgeys or Magikarps, whereas if we wanted HP we would defeat Slowpokes or Wurmples, Geodudes or Metapods for defense, etc, etc. There is quite a bit of complexity to the mechanic, but the gist of what you need to know is that by training against specific enemies, we can influence our growth in our stats as we require it. In this case, we really need to outspeed the majority of Falkner's team, so after our training, let's take him on and see how we do. Okay, so we one-shot the Doduo. Murkrow we take a bunch of damage against, and then Farfetch outspeeds us, it takes us out, so we're definitely not continuing, but let's see how far Swablu can get. Alright, it goes down to the Pidgeotto, so yeah. Well, that went poorly, but don't write off dragon types just yet. All we need are a better Swablu and Dratini, ones with viable IVs and natures that will allow them to reach the necessary stat thresholds after our EV training. Okay, so I guess I should explain those too. So IVs and natures are stat modifiers that, unlike EVs, we have no control over. They are inherent to the individual Pokemon and essentially function as their genetics, giving them predisposition to either excel or lack in their stats. Natures increase one stat by 10% while reducing another by 10%, and IVs, or individual values, are randomly generated for each stat, ranging from 0 to 31, with a higher number giving you better growth in that stat, and a lower number giving you less growth. The reason I decided to explain EVs, IVs, and natures in this run is because although they are a factor in all of my runs, they are especially important for this run. Carrying off of that, it seems like the right time to mention that I did do a test run before attempting this challenge, and did many voluntary encounter resets. I mean, if I'm going to reliably beat Bugsy's team with this, it's going to need some strategy development. One thing doing test runs allows me to know is the stat requirements our team members need to reach in order to be successful, and this is why I sometimes do voluntary resets for my early game encounters till I get ones that can achieve these requirements, because as we've already established, not just any Dratini or Swablu will do. Now some of you might consider these attempts. Personally, I don't count them as one, because really all I'm trying to do is set myself up for an attempt that's actually worth making. It's semantics, but in this case I need a Dratini with good enough stats to potentially outspeed most of Faulkner's team. Alright, and we got negative speed nature. Yeah, that definitely won't do. As you can see, I just reset to a save state before catching Swablu to skip the game intro, and eventually, after over 20 resets, I find this Dratini. Alright, so not a plus speed nature, but a perfect 31 IVs in speed. Every other stat is pretty damn good too. I think we found our guy here. After getting our beast Dratini and training him up, we can finally face Faulkner again. Alright, so again the Doduo goes down in one hit. The Murkrow is still faster and can survive a Dragon Rage, so I paralyze it and chip it with Twister. This is cause I at least have a chance to para-flinch it from getting a second turn, but it still attacks, and our Oran Berry brings us back to 26 HP. Now here is where our increased speed matters. We outspeed Farfetch'd and Dragon Rage one-shots. For those who don't know, Dragon Rage always deals 40 damage, so in the early game it is basically a nuke button, but it will become pretty much useless later in the run. For now, it gives us one-shots on Swablu and Chatot, and then a two-shot for the victory against Pidgeotto as we just take an aerial ace. And there you go, with the right Dratini and training, Faulkner can be defeated. One badge. On our way to the next gym, we have a chance of getting Gible or Bagon in the basement of Union Cave, and we would really prefer Gible, which is thankfully what we find. I then fully EV train our whole team in the early routes. This is not something I normally do until pretty deep into the game when we get power items, but if we're gonna beat these teams with these 3 runts, we're gonna need them to be as strong as possible. With our training done and another Dragon Rage user, we can easily blow past Team Rocket and Slowpoke well, and the gym trainers, and so we're ready then to face Bugsy. Alright, well, not to be anticlimactic, but our first attempt completely implodes after some bad luck and uncooperative AI. The Scyther comes in a spot where we aren't ready to deal with it, and that's game over for us. The next time we face Bugsy, things go more according to plan. We play ourselves into the exact spot we want, with our full health Gible getting to level 23 as Scyther comes in, which puts it at the perfect speed stat to outspeed after we connect Rock Tomb. But we miss, and Scyther got up a Swords Dance, so that's game over. Absolutely brutal, but you can see what our win condition is. Alright, well, you already know it's a long process for me to get back to that point, and I don't want to waste your time, so jumping straight to the battle with Bugsy in attempt 5. I neglected to show you the full battle last time because I figured I would do so when we are successful. I start off by having Swablu easily take out Butterfree with some plucks. We do take a crit air cutter, so we have to roost back our health. Then Yanma comes in, and right here is a tricky part of this battle, because we can't just take out Yanma here. We actually wanted to U-turn out, which is what it does immediately, which is what I meant earlier by the AI cooperating. I paralyze the Beedrill that comes in, and I need it to stay in, and it gets paralyzed on the switch to Swablu, so we can take it out with Pluck, and this is going exactly as planned. So the Yanma comes back in, and now that the Beedrill is gone, we can take it out with a Pluck. The reason it's important to take out Beedrill first is because if we were to take out Yanma first, the AI sends in Scyther next, which we aren't ready for, but when Beedrill goes down first, it sends in Heracross, who goes down easily to Pluck. This is another example of what my test runs allow me to learn about these fights. The strategies in this run actually go quite deep, and figuring all of this out from actual runs would have taken forever. Anyways, Pinsir comes in, and I start by reducing its attack with Growls as it goes for Vital Throws, which makes it move second. I put it to sleep with Sing and continue to heal up damage taken with Roost while also lowering its attack more. And after I put it freshly to sleep once again, I send in Gible, who can take it out and get to level 23 thanks to the EXP share. And now we're in the same situation as last time. Scyther comes in, sets up Swords Dance. This time we do land Rock Tomb, we're faster on the next turn, and can take it out with Dragon Rage. Crazy battle, but we got it done. 2 badges. So you may wonder why we jumped from attempt 3 to attempt 5, and it's because in attempt 4 we found Bagon instead of Gibble, which may not seem like it matters, but trust me, I will explain in the follow-up video why Bagon simply won't work for Bugsy or the upcoming gym. One thing Gibble has over Bagon is that it can evolve into Gabite at our next level cap, giving us some added power. I get my team some new moves in the game corner and the Goldenrod Mart, and we're ready for the 3rd gym leader, Whitney. I start off by putting her lead Lickitung to sleep with Swablu and then lowering its attack with Growls. I heal back damage lost with Roost and chip it with some Plucks, before eventually switching to Dratini, and annoyingly it immediately wakes up to hit a body slam, but thankfully there's no paralysis and we can go behind a sub that it can't break because of the attack drops. It trolls me by disabling Substitute, which prompts me to keep it alive longer and stall out the disable, as we need to be able to sub for the next Pokemon. We take it out, and then Wigglytuff comes in. This thing has Ice Beam, which it is just going to spam, and that's why we need to be able to sub, because between that and Protect, we stall out 5 Ice Beam PP, but now we have to go to Swablu, who gets hit hard by 1, but its great special defense lets it live, and then by removing our flying type with Roost, we're able to stall out the rest of the Ice Beam PP. Even after getting infatuated by its cute charm, we are thankfully able to break through, and now with this Wigglytuff out of Ice Beams, after putting it to sleep, I send in Gabite, who takes it out with a couple of Dragon Rages and goes behind a Substitute. Our Gabite has enough EV training to speed tie the Miltank. It breaks our sub and goes down after hitting us with a body slam to 2 Dragon Rages, due in part to our rough skin ability getting some chip damage. 2 Dragon Rages take out Lopunny as we're hit with a Dizzy Punch, and we do over half to Stantler, but it puts us to sleep, so I go to Swablu, who gets off a Growl, letting us live another Stomp, but we then get flinched, preventing us from healing with Roost. Okay, I'm hoping at -1 Dratini can take a Stomp well. And okay, we will live 2, but we outspeed anyways and take it out. Let's go. And the final Clefable can only attack with Charge Beam and Water Pulse. We can go behind a sub, which it can't break. It just goes for Reflect, and we're safe behind our sub, so 3 Dragon Rages take it out. Wow, that battle took a lot of unexpected turns from what our plan was, but we amazingly got it done. 3 badges. So now we're on a bit of a roll, but I don't know what we'll do about the upcoming Ghost Gym. Oh. Well, before that, we have a fight with a rival in the Burnt Tower, which is pretty easy, and oh, if I'm not mistaken, these guys used to be dragon types, so maybe I should catch them and... Okay, never mind, let's just go ahead and face the Ecruteak City gym leader, Morty. Alright, so the lead Duskull isn't very threatening. We can just go behind a sub and then take it out with 2 Shadow Claws as it fails to break it. Shuppet goes down in a single Shadow Claw. Haunter lives 1 but just wastes its turn with Mean Look, and then we take it out. Against Misdreavus we get the crit, so it goes down in 1 hit. Then we can actually outspeed Gengar as our Gabite is trained a lot in speed, and it breaks our sub, but 2 Shadow Claws take it out. And then the final Pokemon Sableye easily goes down in 2 Dragon Rages, getting us a relatively easy win in our 4th gym. 4 badges. We have a lot going on for us on our way to the next gym as Dratini evolves into Dragonair, Swablu evolves into Altaria, officially getting its dragon typing, and on our way to Cianwood we can catch Horsey, which can immediately be evolved to Seadra, and then to Kingdra with a dragon scale we can find on Wild Horsey. All in all, a massive power increase for our team, just in time to face the 5th gym leader, Chuck. I lead Altaria against Primeape, and he tries setting up Substitute, but our Pluck prevents it and we take it out with no problem. Against Hitmonlee, I heal back damage taken with Roost, put it to sleep, and it easily goes down to 2 Plucks, but Hitmonchan is more scary as it has Ice Punch, so I start by using Growl to lower its attack, and it goes behind a Substitute. I break it and take a lot from Ice Punch, but a Roost and our Citrus Berry heals me back to full health. But then after trying to play around at subs and ice punches, we get frozen, so I switch to Kingdra on an ice punch, which crits us for a bunch of damage. Well, a Surf takes it out, and then comes in Breloom. Ice Beam one-shots it, and we're getting our health back with Shell Bell. Poliwrath comes in, and it keeps trying to focus punch us, but our Dragon Breath prevents it from hitting. It hits us with an Ice Punch, but I'm just thankful it never went for Hypnosis, so it goes down, taking us to 61 HP. His final Pokemon, Hariyama, comes in. I send in Gabite, and after stalling out its 5 PP of Cross Chop with a few substitutes and Dig, it no longer has a way to hit Altaria, with its only other attacks being Fake Out and Earthquake. So I bring it in, and he whirlwinds me out a few times, but eventually we thaw out of the ice, and our win is free from there. Chuck gave us a good challenge this time, but we made it out alive. 5 badges. After this, we head back to Olivine to cure the sick Ampharos in the lighthouse. Oh, hey Altaria. Good job in the last gym fight.
Huh? Yeah, thanks.
So what comes next is the first Rocket Gauntlet, and just before facing Petrel, we can catch a Trapinch, which can be evolved into Vibrava, giving us our second to last team member. Our fight against Petrel is easy. Kingdra takes out his first 3 team members, and then Gabite cleans up against the final Golbat. In the fight against Ariana, Gabite takes out Arbok with Dig, then Jinx with Shadow Claw. We do a lot to Honchkrow with Kingdra's Ice Beam, but then have it take itself out with a Brave Bird on Gabite. Finally, the Vileplume goes down to Fly from Altaria, and Ice Beam from Kingdra. In the double battle, Riley gets targeted by the Zangoose, so we just leave it alone and take out the Grunt's Scyther after going behind a substitute, and then take out the Mawile with Gabite's Dig, as Ursaring takes out Zangoose with Slash, and Gyarados comes in. It breaks our sub with Ice Fang, and then Granbull comes in, getting off an Intimidate. I switch to Kingdra, and then Granbull gets taken out in a few hits, leaving us with a 2v1. But we take a strong bounce, which takes us to low health, so I switch to Altaria, who gets off a Fly, as Riley's last Pokemon goes down, making it a 1v1. We can just barely live Ice Fang, but we get frozen. Ugh, you can't be serious. Okay, I switched to Dragonair, who only takes 2 times damage. It lives, and we get off a Thunderbolt, and then his final Pokemon is Houndoom. Gabite comes in, and Dig takes it out in 1 hit. Alright, moving on. After saving the day like usual, we're rewarded with access to the Safari Zone, which is where we'll find our last team member, but we can't capture it right now, so we'll have to come back later when more of the Safari Zone is unlocked. Our next order of business right now is to head back to Olivine City and take on the 6th gym leader, Jasmine. I lead with Vibrava, who takes out Miltank in 1 hit with a Dig, and then against Fortress I send in Kingdra, who takes it out in 2 hits with Surf. Then for whatever reason she sends in Steelix, which is an easy one-shot with Surf. Skarmory is as well after we score a lucky crit. Then Magneton decides to be annoying and not let Gabite take it out with Dig, as it goes for a Magnet Rise. I take a lot of damage struggling to deal with this thing, as its Flash Cannons and Thunderbolts do a lot of damage to our Gabite, Dragonair, and Altaria. I try putting it to sleep, but miss twice with Sing, but I bring in Kingdra on a Flash Cannon that it takes easily, and then it goes down to our Surf. Her last is Bronzong, and we're in a bad spot. I'm not sure if it can take us out from here, but I can't switch, so I just go for Surf, which is doing just under half, and then... well, thanks, Jasmine. She goes for Rain Dance, boosting the damage of our water moves, letting us take her out with another Surf. And in our last fire run, I said Jasmine would give us a hard time one of these days, and she certainly did this time, but then she just throws it all away. Alright, 6 badges. Normally, this is where I would EV train my team, but we've kinda already done that, so we're just gonna head east, where we'll team up with Lance to take down the Rocket Hideout. And can I just say, screw this guy. He's touted as this amazing Dragon Master and thinks he's so cool with his under-leveled Dragonite, and he uses Pokemon that literally aren't even Dragon types. I'm saying it right now, one of these days I will expose him as a fraud and the world will see what a true Dragon Master looks like. But in the meantime, we will be working together for this common goal, and the hideout proves to be quite easy, but we're never going to be able to dethrone Lance if we can't first defeat Gym Leader Price. Now, unsurprisingly, Price is maybe our hardest challenge yet, but I've got a plan up my sleeve. Before facing him, I backtracked to pick up TM18, Rain Dance in the Slowpoke Well, and get TM02 Dragon Claw from the Goldenrod Lottery, which took like 20 minutes, but both of these will be crucial for facing him. As you can see, I've changed up Kingdra's moveset quite a bit, and we lead it against his Abomasnow. I start off with a Protect as it's just going to spam Blizzard at us. I use Rain Dance to get rid of the Hail as we take one for a lot of damage, and then Protect again. We go for a sub to block his 4th Blizzard, and then Protect again on the 5th, leaving him with no more PP for the move. From here I go to Dragonair on a weak Seed Bomb, and it has another Ice move in Ice Shard, but it's much weaker, especially after our Yachi Berry reduces it, and we hit a Thunder Wave to paralyze it. I then switch to Kingdra as it is fully paralyzed. This will prompt it to Seed Bomb, making a switch to Altaria safe, but it just gets fully paralyzed. Then fully paralyzed again as we hit it with a Growl to lower its attack. Yes, I am still using Growl in the 7th gym, but this was the only way I could find to do this battle. It just goes for Seed Bomb and Focus Blast as we continue lowering its attack with Growl. It eventually hits an Ice Shard, but with the attack drops, they do little damage. Without the attack drops, this move does just about half to us, and we're then able to live another at -1 and heal up with Roost, so the lucky paras weren't completely needed, but they definitely help, as with the Abomasnow doing little damage after 5 Growls, I can begin setting up to +6 with Dragon Dances, healing up along the way, and take him out with Dragon Claw. I then have one-shots on Glalie, Frostless, Dugong, and Lapras. And then lastly, he brings in Mamoswine. It has Ice Shard, so I switch to Kingdra, who takes it easily. We don't quite get the one-shot with Surf, but we live in Earthquake, and then he heals, and we get a better damage range, taking it out. Man, it's really fortunate for us that Price sends out his Mamoswine last. Otherwise, I don't know what we would do in this battle. Still, it was extremely tough, and this fight took a lot of strategy testing to get by, and would have for sure been a fight we wiped to many times. 7 badges. This fight with Price is where I ended my test run, as getting to that point was really where I felt the Dragon type would have the most difficulty, and that they would be able to stand on their own for the remainder of the run, so long as we found a way to get past him. Next up is the Radio Tower Gauntlet, which is a very difficult section of the game, but our team gets some major upgrades as along the way Vibrava reaches its final form Flygon, and Gabite evolves into the destructive force Garchomp. Starting off the battles, Petrol is simple. I have Flygon handle the lead Raticate, and then most of his team goes for a Toxic Protect strategy in this battle, but Kingdra's Substitute blocks this from working, and it slowly picks off the rest of his team. The rival's Honchkrow also tries to Toxic us, which gets us another free substitute, and our Ice Beams take it out. Then we can also take out Seadra, Magmar, and Gengar. We do big damage to Alakazam and then finish it with Flygon's U-turn, and then 2 Ice Beams against Meganium finishes the battle. We then face Proton, and his lead Electro just sets up Rain Dance as Flygon's Earthquake OHKOs, and then we score another one-shot with a U-turn on his Cacturn. We then have Kingdra take Crobat's Brave Bird, and we can outspeed it because of the rain, and take it out in 2 hits. Then we put some damage on Weezing with Flygon, but we're burnt, so we have to switch to Kingdra to finish it off. Against Tauros, we have Altaria get up a Dragon Dance, and Roost back damage taken, and then it goes down in 2 Dragon Claws, as does Camerupt. Against Ariana, Flygon's Banded U-turn one-shots Jinx, Kingdra takes a Gunk Shot from Arbok, but it goes down in 2 Surfs, Vileplume puts Altaria to sleep on the switch, so I go into Flygon, who gets a good amount of damage, but has to switch again, so I go to Gabite, who takes it out with 2 Earthquakes after it gets some recovery with Giga Drain. Then my Loadic comes in and I go to Kingdra on its Surf. This thing has a set of Surf, Toxic, Rest, and Sleep Talk, so after going behind a substitute, it doesn't have much of a way to damage us, and we take it out with some Dragon Pulses. Honchkrow just tries Thunder Waving us behind a sub and goes down to 2 Ice Beams, and then Perugly stalls with Protect, but our 2 Surfs take it out. After this battle is where our Gabite evolves, and Garchomp is going to be a huge upgrade for our team going into our final 2 fights here. First, we've got Archer, and we use Garchomp to set up a Sword Stance, which gets disabled, but then the Zangoose falls to an Earthquake. Gyarados comes in, dropping our attack to +1 with Intimidate, and Strength is a Rock-type move in this game, and I figured it will do the job at +1, but it actually lives and gets off an Ice Fang, but we tank it pretty well, and it goes down to our Rough Skin. Drapion is an easy one-shot with Earthquake. I elect to switch out on Scizor, going to Kingdra as he sets up a Sword Stance of his own, which is really scary, but then he just goes for another, letting me take it out in 2 Surfs. Machamp is really scary, and I put Flygon at risk, taking a Cross Chop, but thankfully there's no crit, and 2 Earthquakes take it out. Then Houndoom drops our attack with Intimidate, so I U-turn out to Kingdra, who was hit by a crit Dark Pulse, so I instead bring Altaria in, who finishes it with a +1 Dragon Claw. Finally, we have the Team Rocket boss, Giovanni, make an appearance, and against him, Garchomp takes out his Persian, only taking a little damage. Then Nidoking comes in, and Earthquake probably one-shots, but I guess I was scared it wouldn't, so I send in Kingdra to take its Ice Beam and get a one-shot with Specs boosted Surf. A combined effort from Flygon and Garchomp takes out Kangaskhan, but both take significant damage. Again, I don't trust Earthquake to one-shot Nidoqueen. It is even bulkier than Nidoking, so Kingdra takes its Ice Beam as well, and takes it out with another Surf. Rhyperior of course has no chance of surviving a Surf, and then finally we have Tauros, who could be a massive thorn in our side, but it just misses 2 Stone Edges, so Kingdra can just take it out with 2 Surfs, getting us through the gauntlet with no deaths. Speaking of thorns and Kingdras, the team and I are now headed for Blackthorn City to face the final gym leader, Claire. However, on the way we get a call from Balba telling us our options at the Safari Zone have expanded, and so we can go back there to get our final team member, an awesome Shelgon, which can evolve into Salamence at Claire's level cap of 50. Another pseudo-legendary, and this one has Intimidate. Our team is really starting to look unstoppable, so now we're ready for Claire, who I guess will serve as a warm-up for Lance. Dragon vs Dragon is a volatile matchup with it being super effective against itself, but let's see if we can outmatch her. Her 2 Dragonairs go down in 1 hit to Flygon's Dragon Claw, and then Salamence drops us to -1, and we do just over half as we take a Draco Meteor, but our held Haban Berry weakens it, letting us live, and another Dragon Claw takes out her 3rd Pokemon. Altaria comes in, and it's not the scariest dragon around, so Garchomp comes in on a Dragon Pulse, weakened by another Haban Berry, and our Dragon Claw finishes it off. Against Kingdra, I switch in our own on a Blizzard that we take easily, and then our Specs boosted Dragon Pulse one-shots it, and then comes in Gyarados, who our Dragon Pulse does half to, but it gets up a Dragon Dance, which is scary. I switch Salamence in for the Intimidate, but we take an Outrage, which does a lot, and I have to switch to Altaria, who can take one easily with its Haban Berry. Gyarados becomes confused and hits itself as we set up our own Dragon Dance, and then a Dragon Claw finishes the battle. That got a bit scary there, but as the superior dragon trainer, we prevail, and Claire was actually so impressed with what an amazing dragon master I am that she sent me into the dragon's den to meet the elders and tell them about what a great trainer I am that she respects so much. They agreed that I'm pretty dope, so I got the rising badge, and then Claire's number cause I'm pretty sure she wants me, but I have to stay focused on my goals. Anyways, we head to Ecruteak, and our rival is apparently already here, getting beat by the Kimono Girls, which I'm pretty jealous about, because when I go in there, all they want to do is battle me. Whatever, the only one that is really worrisome is the one with Glaceon, but Kingdra handles it. We catch Lugia just to flex on him, then we make our way through Victory Road and have a final battle with our rival, who fails to do anything against our dragons. Then, with the league level cap of 55, we can have our only unevolved member reach its final form in Dragonite, another pseudo-legend, and I have to say I'm feeling pretty good about our chances versus the league. Against Will, Jinx goes down to Flygon's Bandit U-turn, and I have Kingdra come in, and its Surf easily one-shots Lunatone. Then Gardevoir hits us hard with Psychic after setting up a Reflect, and Will heals the damage done by our Surfs, but then we score a crit and can take it out with one more. Slowbro comes in and we chunk it with Dragon Pulse, but then switch to Flygon, who finishes it with a Banded Earthquake. Xatu comes in and I can't even hit it, so I go to Altaria, who gets paralyzed and damaged heavily, but we take it out with a +1 Dragon Claw, and then lastly I bring Garchomp in for a 2-shot on Solrock, and so we're moving on. So that was pretty tricky, but against Koga, we just have Dragonite make its debut, setting up a Dragon Dance, and we're put to sleep by Venomoth, but it can't damage us enough by the time we wake up, and we take it out with a Fly. Then, with +1 Earthquake, Muck is a one-shot, Tentacruel is a one-shot, Toxicroak is a one-shot, Crobat takes a Dragon Claw, but just double teams, and we connect our next one to take it out, and then Weezing finally does something with a little Toxic Stalling, but it's too little too late, and we're on to Bruno. I take out his lead Hitmontop with Garchomp, but between Fake Out and High Jump Kick, it does decent damage to us, and then I switch to Kingdra on Hitmonchan's Ice Punch, and we take a pretty nasty High Jump Kick from it as well, but it goes down in 2 Surfs. Next is Hariyama, and eerily similar to the Chuck fight, it doesn't have great answers to Altaria, so we send it in and set up Dragon Dances as we take its Thunder Punches decently, but we get paralyzed, which is annoying. I end up switching to Flygon and taking it out with 2 Banded Earthquakes. Hitmonlee is a String Bean, so I know a Banded Earthquake one-shots, but the Chad Machamp will easily take it, so I send in Salamence for the Intimidate, and we take a weak Dynamic Punch, but we're confused, so I go to Dragonite, who takes it out with Fly, and then lastly, against Lucario, we one-shot with Earthquake. On to Karen. I lead with Salamence mainly for Intimidate, which we trade with her lead Mightyena. I then send in Kingdra and go behind a Substitute and take it out as it just goes for weak Fire Fangs. We freeze Honchkrow with our Ice Beam, so we get to keep our Substitute, and then Absol goes down in 1 Surf. Spiritomb takes half from 1, but I send in Flygon to finish it off. Then Umbreon tries setting up double teams, but Flygon don't miss, and we take it out in 3 hits while getting poisoned, and then have our attack dropped with Houndoom's Intimidate, so I U-turn out to Garchomp, who gets an easy knockout with Earthquake. Now, there's nothing standing between me and Lance. I lead Salamence against Gyarados, again trading Intimidates, but I immediately make a switch to Flygon on Stone Edge, then U-turn out to Salamence again for another attack drop on a weak Payback. I repeat this cycle once more, and then we have Salamence spam Roost a few times, removing our Flying type and making the Stone Edges do basically nothing, and now it is out of PP for the move, and with only Aqua Tail, Earthquake, and Payback, this Gyarados is a sitting duck. Speaking of ducks, I decide to let Altaria have another moment to shine. We set up 6 Dragon Dances, and we have all one-shots from there. And let's just be clear about something, Claire put up a way better fight. Fraud confirmed, and then even the media bursts into the room like, Lance washed, swept by an Altaria, new best dragon trainer, and so I'm feeling pretty accomplished having finished what I set out to do. But I guess there's still more to the game in Kanto, so yeah, we head there. And look, there really isn't much to say about this part of the game. I mean, we have Dragonite, Garchomp, and Salamence. 3 Pokemon that are oftentimes banned from normal Nuzlocke runs because they're too overpowered. We've also got Altaria, and Flygon even gets Dragon Dance at level 65. At this point, the game just becomes completely trivial as every battle can pretty much be simplified down to getting one of them in a spot to set up, and you win. None of the Kanto gym leaders had any way to stop this, and the hardest battle by far was Misty, only cause we first had to stall out her lead Politoed's Ice Beam PP, then set up. But yeah, we go on to face the league rematch, and again, Will gives us the hardest time early on in the fight, chipping down some of our members, but eventually Salamence can get up some Dragon Dances, and we win. Koga just stands no chance against Garchomp, it solos his team. Bruno doesn't fare much better as Dragonite gets up a few Dragon Dances and rips through his team like tissue paper. Karen leads with a Weavile, which is kinda scary for Dragon types, but Kingdra handles it with some Surfs, although we take a lot of damage from a crit Ice Punch. Shiftry then comes in, and it will be our setup fodder for Salamence, and we've got another easy sweep. We're back again to embarrass Lance one more time before we call it a run. Same strategy as last time, we just clown on the poor Gyarados, and this time Dragonite carries out the sweep, and so all that's left is Red. Before we face him, the team and I get a group photo, thank you Cameron, and so now we're ready to head in and finish this thing. I actually decided for Red that I would try to make it challenging, so I'm not going to sweep him, and I'm going to attempt to get a knockout with each team member. Flygon easily one-shots the lead Pikachu with Earthquake, and then we U-turn out to Kingdra on Blastoise's Blizzard and take it out with a pair of Specs boosted Dragon Pulses. Charizard has a strong Dragon Pulse of its own, which puts Altaria on the ropes, but we get up a Dragon Dance and heal our health back with some Roosts, and then when we're able to take one again, we hit a Dragon Claw and then finish it with a Fly. Garchomp gets damaged pretty heavily by Espeon's Psychics, and it gets up a Reflect, so we're not able to take it out easily, and then Red heals back to full health twice, and we're now in danger, and I decide I'd rather have a Zero Death run, so I bring in Flygon. We hit a U-turn into Dragonite as Espeon goes down to hail damage.
Should that count as a Garchomp kill? I kinda think it should. Red healing with the full restores is kinda lame.
Snorlax comes in, and I have Salamence intimidate it, and we take a Body Slam, but it goes down to 2 Outrages, and then the final Pokemon is Venusaur, whose moveset can't really do anything to a Dragon Flying type. We're locked into another Outrage, which does a bunch of damage, but then we can switch to Dragonite as he heals again, but Dragonite can easily get its KO with a Fly, ending the battle and the run. And so there you have it. That's how I completed a Storm Silver Hardcore Nuzlocke using only Dragon types. Considering I was not totally sure this run would be possible when theorizing strategies for it, completing this one was incredibly satisfying for me, and getting a deathless run under my belt is also pretty cool. If you enjoyed this run, I've got many more coming, and several more you can check out on my channel right now. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next run. Peace.